Hey now and welcome. What a week he had this last weekend. He's Bergie, I'm Booker. This is the Bergie and Booker show. And you had some picks and they did pretty well. Go ahead and let us know.
Well, yep, I hit Maryland and Penn State, which were my two sort of quote unquote locks. They hit. I hit Florida State.
Oh, yeah.
Had Rutgers kicked a field goal, they would have covered rather than pushed. Instead, they went for the touchdown when the game was out of reach. And then, of course, Notre Dame. Notre Dame. And
yes, that's the first on the list.
I went against. I'm thinking they're ready. They're going to make the jump. I like everything they're going to do. And then Notre Dame does Notre Dame things and finds a way to lose. And I hate to say it that way because in the past, they wouldn't even have been in that game the last 10 years. Do we want to get into the Notre Dame game right away?
Yes, I think Notre Dame, OSU, congratulations to the Big Ten. It's a big win for them. Notre Dame's a good football team. Don't know if this crushes them, but they certainly, the next loss will. So, and they don't play an easy schedule. But so many different components to that game and the way it evolved.
All right, first of all, Ryan Day after the game. If that's not the definition of a coach with rabbit ears, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
He's complaining about what Lou Holtz said on Friday on the Pat McAfee show when he obviously it hit home. Obviously, there was truth to it. He's 0-2 against Michigan. Obviously, he has lost all the big games he has coached. And how old is Lou Holtz? 80 what?
A lot.
Yeah.
He's up there.
What to do that, it just shows the pressure's getting to him, in my opinion. Notre Dame played the better game. Notre Dame should have won the game. I've coached a lot. I've played a lot. I've seen a lot. Usually 11 players instead of 10 is more helpful.
Yes, especially when you're allowed to have 11.
Yeah, when you're allowed to have 11.
That's a major screw up.
And the play before, I literally turned to Jackie and I said, why is that side so wide open? And they lined up again. And I said, they're just going to run it on the left side of the line. And that's exactly what they did. His answer was he didn't want to run. I might just turn that off so it doesn't bother anybody. He didn't want to run a guy out there late. I mean, it's confusing to me. I'm not trying to beat the guy up because I think he's going to do a good job. I think I like him way better than the last guy from a Notre Dame perspective. But how he doesn't have somebody on the phone screaming in his ear, we only have 10 on the field. We only have 10 on the field. And then they stop him and they still leave 10 on the field for the next play. That's that's the inexcusable mistake.
That is. Now, the debatable mistake is Ohio State's, driving the ball down the field. And nowadays it's become in vogue to just allow them to, they were down by 4. So a field goal, obviously, do you just allow Ohio State to score a touchdown and preserve and have a minute and a half left on the clock? What would you do if you were the coach?
So I would always say no if I'm Notre Dame the last couple of years, but they finally have a quarterback that I think could have taken him right down the field and scored. So I think there would have been a debate. I would have said no. I would have said stop the son of a bitches. Let's use 11 instead of 10. And I would have said stop it because they were doing a good job all game. I watched that entire game because the game on the other screen, and I'll have to show everybody our setup on Saturdays, but the game on the other screen was Penn State and Iowa, and obviously the volume was off of that, later in the game and everything, which we'll talk about. Whiteout's an awesome scene, but you got to stop him. And it's just absolutely heartbreakingly awful to let it happen like that. And there were opportunities. The bigger issue I have for Notre Dame from a coaching standpoint, and coaches do this all the time. You didn't try to get the first down when you had the ball.
Yeah.
The 2nd and 15 play is a horseshit play. The 3rd and 15 is just a stupid draw when every drunk kid in the stands just run a draw was saying it. And you just you give up. You put the white flag up and say, we're going to punt and we're going to try to stop you. How don't they try to get the first down? That play is playing not to, those two plays are playing not to win. I mean, not to lose rather than to win the game. You get a first down, the game's over.
Yep. You sound like Herm Edwards. You play to win the game.
Don't say that. I'll get an NCAA sanction on me.
I think Notre Dame could have showed better there in the final moments. And I was chatting with one of the great football minds of our generation, my mom, Mary Corrigan. And I asked her the question about, should Notre Dame have just allowed them to score and have a minute and a half left? And she said, Book, they only scored 2 touchdowns in 58 and a half minutes. What makes you think they're going to score in a minute and a half? So I agree with you. Stop them. The coaching blunder will live in infamy. But for the sake of our viewers who we love and we do so much for, let's go ahead and move on to Colorado. I think we all knew that they were due for something like that, but that really did not turn out well. And I don't know how many guys got hurt. I hope they're healthy heading into USC because they have another huge challenge in front of them.
Yeah, they're going to get crushed this weekend too.
You do? You think so?
Yeah, they're going to get killed. He is doing a phenomenal job. He being Dion, creating interest, getting people excited about college football, getting people excited about Colorado. I read that he made $90 million in the first 3 games for Colorado. All that's good stuff. He doesn't have the players yet. There's a reason they had 1 win last year. I know you can turn over an entire roster, and that's what he did, but he doesn't have all the pieces right. He's right when he says get him now because this is the worst they're going to be over the next couple of years at Colorado. He's 100% right. But it's also 100% right to say he has pissed off a lot of lifetime college coaches, and people are out to get him from a standpoint of other coaches don't like his approach. And other coaches, the head coach of Oregon, Dan Lanning, great job on his part saying they're going for clicks, we're going for wins. Your job's to motivate your team. Your job is to these are 19 to 23-year-old. Well, there's still a COVID year, so maybe 27-year-old kids.
Yep.
But your job is to motivate any way your team can get motivated. Talking about them walking on the O, talking about them doing this. They went out and they kicked their ass. They went for it on 4th down. Good for them. I mean, that, by the way, the kid 98 who ran, the defensive lineman who ran for the first down on the trick play, guess what? Committed to Syracuse to play lacrosse for 4 years. From that part of the country. His dad was a coach at Syracuse, then left and went to Utica, I believe, become the head coach. That kid, after his senior year, spring of his senior year, decided he wanted to play college football after being committed to Syracuse for 4 years as a midi. He's now 6'5", 305. He was 6'5" or 6'4", but went to a PG year. Nebraska, redshirted. COVID year started. His defensive line coach and another coach went to Oregon. He transferred, and he's a stud. He's going to get drafted. Yep. He's a stud, but he's a lacrosse guy. That's a very little known fact.
Nice to know that lacrosse is still coming back.
Guess who he played for in the All-American game?
Who?
Upstate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The Upstate squad in the All-American game. The All-American, it's a big event.
So
let's talk whiteout, because I know that you have some experience with that, having lived up there. What a great occasion. And do you think, and put in the comments below, do you think they're going to do it again this
If they
year?
get a night game, they're going to do it again because it was too early. The whiteout is supposed to be a little colder. You're supposed to drink a little bit more of the hard stuff during the day to stay warm. It's supposed to be an opponent that you may or may not win. It's supposed to be what it was a couple years ago when you blocked that punt against Ohio State and shocked the world. It's supposed to be an incredible circus, controlled circus type of environment. And when you're playing Iowa in September, there's just not the excitement. Iowa doesn't. And my dad went to Iowa. Iowa's a great place. We talked about. I like Iowa. I respect the hell out of Kirk Ferentz, but it just doesn't bring the energy. It doesn't bring the hate. Play Michigan, play Ohio State. You got to have some hate with the whiteout too. And there was nobody hates Iowa. I mean, that's like hating apple pie for God's sakes.
So yes or no? Do you think they're going to go back to it this year? I think they have Michigan at home in November.
It's got to be a night game, and traditionally the Big Ten has never allowed night games in November. It's been a rule. Some say that has been changed because
why does it have to be a night game? I'm sorry to jump in, but why does it have to be a night game?
Well, because the whiteout it's just more effective at night.
Okay,
it's just more effective. You're looking in, the lights are on. It's a big deal. It doesn't have to be. I mean, they can do a whiteout. And a whiteout in November might be great because it might be snowing, for God's sakes.
Yeah. And it could be a late afternoon game so that in the third and fourth quarter.
So let me tell you what, the best games in college football are 3:30. You can tailgate from 10:30, 11:30, 12, whatever you want to get started to 3:30. You can watch the entire game. You can sit in the parking lot after or go to your favorite watering hole or go home in your driveway and have fun. As a now just viewer / drinker, I don't like the night games for tailgating.
Right.
10 o'clock at night is halftime at those games. And, you still start at the same time. So, I mean, it can be 3:30 is great. I would do a whiteout at 3:30.
I'd love to see that. So let's talk NFL. Justin Fields, your thoughts on him? I think he stinks.
He stinks. He stinks, and I'm going to be on record as saying I have said he's going to stink since he was talked about drafting him, because I have a problem with him because he was at Georgia, okay, and they lost the national championship game when he was a freshman because they took the time to put him into the game because his family was whiners and complainers, and he was this high recruit, and he wasn't playing too much, and he couldn't win the starting position. So then after that season, he lost the starting position. He wasn't going to be the starter the next year. So he claimed racism, claimed he hurt somebody, called him a baseball player said something. They petitioned the NCAA. He got an exemption right away and transferred to Ohio State and left Georgia and went to Ohio State. And he left because he couldn't start and claimed racism. And guess what? His sister still plays softball at Georgia. If you're afraid for your own personal well-being, it's a racist school, how in the hell do you let your sister play softball at Georgia?
I tell you what, I think you make some good points.
He doesn't have a character. He doesn't have the character, and he went to Ohio State. He's you look at a Hurts. I think they're the same year. Hurts loses the starting job, stays that next year knowing he's not going to start, okay, because of an injury. An injury happened. He wins the SEC championship game for him. Then he transfers after that, and obviously Oklahoma, and is making plays left and right all over the place. I'll give Hurts one thing is this. Bad situation, but he doesn't know what he's doing. Accuracy is accuracy. I think he stinks.
You think Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields?
Justin Fields.
Okay, yeah, Justin Fields. You jumped into Jalen Hurts talking about the same draft year, and Hurts and the Eagles. Hurts and the Eagles are doing very well. Although I'm going to quote my friend Big Ten Bergie, NFL doesn't start till week 5, so let's not start.
No. So my comparison with Hurts and him is this: I think Hurts is a character guy. I think he's a hardworking guy. I think he's going to continue to do what he has to do. You can see. I watched Kelsey last night. A guy like Jason Kelsey, loving Hurts. so young, and the guy's obviously a leader. These guys that walk into these rooms, 50% of the NFL quarterbacks that get drafted fail, and Fields is going to be one of those failures. I mean, it's unless something drastically changes, I think he stinks. I think the Bears are going to draft a quarterback, or they're going to trade him. The kid down in Arizona, I think, stinks too. But that's
Murray.
Yeah, I think we've gotten to a point where just because a couple of these guys that are small have had success, it's just you're going to have a couple of them that hit big, and you're going to have a couple of them that are awful. And I think Fields is an awful one.
Would you say that Jalen Hurts his first couple years are fairly congruent to Russell Wilson's first couple years with the Seahawks?
As far as being on a first-time contract, and as far as having talent all around him, but he's a better athlete than Russell Wilson. And he's been in bigger games than Russell Wilson. NC State and Wisconsin weren't Alabama and weren't Oklahoma.
Right.
Because of what Russell Wilson is or is not doing now and didn't do last year, it's easy for people to forget how good he was early in his career. And he was very good. He should have 2 Super Bowls if his coach wasn't an idiot. Run the damn ball. But that's a good comparison. I think he's a leader. I think he's mature. I don't think no moment's too big for Jalen Hurts that I can see so far. And he seems to have a leadership role with guys that are, Kelsey's 35, 36 years old. But he's able to talk to these guys.
Agreed. And Russell, in his first 60 games in the NFL, had the highest winning percentage of any quarterback who had started, from the beginning of their rookie year. So it's interesting to see, because Jalen Hurts will probably break that record.
Yeah, and the Seahawks had the Legion of Boom. Jalen Hurts has more touchdowns now than anybody else in his first X number of games, right? He's got 48 rushing touchdowns. I think he broke Cam Newton's record last week. But again, I don't think he's going to go down the Cam Newton road, who I thought was never going to be successful. Russell Wilson had
I'm going to ask you to take that. I'm going to ask you to take that back. Just that thought, don't even manifest it. Don't even put it out there in the universe.
No.
Of all the people in the world, I know some weird people, and I don't know Cam Newton. I know Russell Wilson, and there's no comparison there. But Cam with the hair and this, come on, man. Good gracious.
He looks like the Simpsons character, the clown from the Simpsons character that the Frasier character was the voice of. I can't remember Krusty the Clown, or I don't know, something like that. That's
with Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
How about your New York Jets? They look good. I think they're going to make a playoff push.
Yeah, and I think we can go back 2 or 3 weeks when I said when Aaron Rodgers got fired that he ruined Zach Wilson's career and that the coach will be fired. The coach will be fired and Zach Wilson will be moved on from.
I agree with Zach Wilson just not having it. Golly day. I remember standing up for Robert Saleh about the coach being fired, but right now, all of a sudden, there's all kinds of mayhem going on there. So
run the goddamn ball 75 times if you have to. You got a great defense. Do whatever you have to do. Zach and Heath, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've put agreement in the room beforehand. Hey, listen, you didn't draft him. The GM didn't draft him, and the head coach didn't draft him. So maybe everybody's agreed that you're not going to get penalized for him. Guess what? That's all great in theory until you're sitting 1-15, and then you're gonna get fired. And Aaron Rodgers can go on McAfee and talk about coming back and do all his relax and chill and all this stuff. The bottom line is nobody knows if he's ever going to play again. I know technology's gotten great. It's an Achilles. He's 39 years old. There's no idea. They have to go out and get a quarterback. They may go get your boy.
Who, Russell? You think so?
Yeah, why? Sean Payton doesn't want him anymore. Sean Payton is in the middle of a absolute 5-year rebuilding plan. It doesn't matter. We'll talk. The 70 was embarrassing, but he has got a complete clean slate this year. He's trying to see what works, what doesn't work, and it doesn't matter to him. He's going to lose with Russell Wilson or without Russell Wilson, or he's going to win with Russell Wilson or without Russell Wilson. He's going to pull that whole, these ain't my guys. I need a whole culture change in the locker room. And when you get him, you know what you're getting with Sean Payton. You're getting the guy who has the bounty gates. You're getting the guy who does this. You're getting the guy who's going to hire Greg Williams, and you're going to get all the, I mean, it is what it is. It's like when you hire the used car salesman to sell cars. He's going to sell a shit ton of cars, but he's got 3 divorces and 2 ex-wives here, and the guy comes with a lot of baggage. Hey man.
Now let's get to the one that stung me the worst because of the way it happened, and I also I have an affinity for the Baltimore Ravens, but their loss, they lost the Indianapolis Colts in overtime, and they had the game. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Oh,
doesn't it have to hurt just a little bit more to those older Ravens fans that still remember the Mayflower trucks driving off in the middle of the night?
Yeah. I think that fortunately that's not too much of the sting, but the fair catch 3 seconds before the 2-minute warning, all these things add up to allowing the Colts to tie the game. Then they do, nothing impressive in overtime and end up losing. And hats off to the Indianapolis Colts kicker. His last name's Gay. He was insane. He couldn't miss, and they set Justin Tucker out for a 61-yarder, and he was a 1.5 feet short. So I wouldn't put it on Justin Tucker either, but the Indianapolis Colts kicker was fabulous.
Yeah, but I will tell you this. It's rearing its ugly head already. Lamar is inaccurate.
Yeah.
He's inaccurate. Now, in his defense, that last pass looked like PI to me.
Yes.
But it shouldn't have gotten there. And I didn't watch the whole game, but he's inaccurate. He was progressing every year. I really was on the Lamar train the first 3 or 4 years. And I try to remember that Lamar's still only like 26 years old, but he's regressed the last couple of years. And I think from a leadership standpoint and from his accuracy. So he's still a fantastic athlete, but I don't know. He's in a conference where he's not the best quarterback in the conference.
Agreed. I'll tell you what though, when he tucks it and runs, he's perfectly accurate.
Oh yeah.
He is like no other. He's like an old Randall Cunningham. He's like a Michael Vick. He's like the dynamic player who can burst off for a 45-yard run at any instant.
I think a lot of these guys are listening to the media and they're listening to people saying, "Oh, they're a running quarterback," and they're taking offense to it rather than embracing it. And I think some of them are staying in the pocket too long. I think they got there. They've had success running. They've had success running, throwing on the run. I mean, I like drop back quarterbacks, but if you're not a drop back quarterback, it's tough to become one at 26 years old.
Agreed.
Let his athleticism play, and it probably will. I mean, Harbaugh's a good coach; they'll do something. I just don't think he's going to win that division just because of the way the division had. I mean, the Steelers are winning, and they're winning really, really ugly.
Yeah,
and he's a good quarterback, and they're going to figure that out. And everybody, if you like Mike Tomlin, you say he's never had a losing season, and they always are competing. If you don't like Mike Tomlin, you say, well, he's always going to have 8 wins or 9 wins or 10 wins, but we're never going to, be great. That's sort of the knock against Tomlin. I'm not going to knock Tomlin. I think he's a great coach. I think I think he's surrounded himself a couple times with some immature assistant coaches, Joey Porter in particular. But I think that I just don't see the Ravens being able to compete with the Steelers and Cincinnati if Burrow's healthy. So if you're the third in your conference there, that's tough.
And that is a division that sent 3 teams to the playoffs on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And there's still a lot to be done, a lot to happen. We got to get Odell Beckham Jr. back in the lineup and playing.
Well, he's not. There's rumors that he's dating Kim Kardashian, which means his career's over.
Yeah.
If he's really dating her, she's ruined about 9 NBA teams, hasn't she?
Wait, not Kim. You're talking about I can't name them all, but
I think she's supposed to be dating him.
Kim was married to Kanye West, correct?
Yeah, but not anymore.
Okay. And her butt's bigger than yours.
Yeah, like twice as big. And I don't wear a thong in public.
Yeah. Well, we do appreciate that because, then you'd have to shop at Walmart all the time.
You know what? People complain sometimes that there's too many people on Siesta Key during spring break. Maybe if I thonged it up, there'd be less people on the beach.
Yeah. It's not funny. That's not funny.
No,
that's not funny.
But it's true.
The Miami Dolphins, are they I think they just scheduled. Fortunately, they caught the Broncos, obviously, when they had their worst game ever. So are the Dolphins for real, or are they just in the right place at the right time?
So this is tricky because I'm one of those guys that think the coach is the biggest dork in the entire world.
God.
But he's a ball boy. He was a ball boy. He's a football nerd. He's got earrings. He vapes. He dresses like a metrosexual. But what he's doing and the speed he has and the way they're utilizing that speed, and Tua he can manage things. I mean, he's going to stay within the game plan and then make a couple plays here or there. This week will be interesting. They play the Bills, and I believe it's there. So it's not Miami, and not that Miami has a home field advantage because no one goes to the University of Miami games or the Dolphins games very often anyway, because there's so much other stuff going on. But I mean, they're going to play a good team. So scheduling has helped. Until they're stopped offensively, I think they're for real. But again, the Patriots, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets. All right. So who's their real competition this year? The Bills, right?
Yeah, the Bills. Definitely the Bills.
So we'll see this Sunday how they compete against the Bills. The Patriots, he's not looking like the guy either. The quarterback at but now we got, how many Alabama quarterbacks are there in the NFL, for goodness sakes? I mean, I think the head coach, I think I hate to say it. I think he's one of these, young geniuses. I mean, I think he might be better than McVay. I mean,
I was about to say, everybody was saying that about Sean McVay about 4 or 5 years ago, and now they can't, get out of their own way for some reason. The backtracking, and I want to reinforce something you said all the way back in the beginning. Ryan Day complaining about Lou Holtz. What does he think Lou Holtz is going to say? If you tell Lou Holtz that Notre Dame is playing the NFL All-Star team, he's going to pick Notre Dame and he's going to tell you why they're going to win the game. I mean, that's for Ryan Day to not be able to get that out of his mind.
It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look. And
it wasn't a good look.
It wasn't a good look. And the other thing is, somebody has to tell Ryan Day to stop dyeing every hair on his body black. I mean, that can't be natural. He's gotten darker eyebrows, darker facial hair, darker hair. It's not a good look. And Lou Holtz did the right thing. And I'm not even a big fan of Lou Holtz, but coming out and saying, like, he can say whatever he wants to me. He can keep coming at me. He still has to play Michigan. He still has to play Penn State. And I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. That's what he said today. And I just think it was a bad look picking on again, it's like, you're going to come out. All right. So Joe Namath, who Frank is a good friend of mine, his nephew, played in Maryland with me. I just talked to Frank yesterday. Pittsburgh guy who's coming down to Florida. And Joe Namath said a couple things about Zach Wilson. What's Zach Wilson going to do? Score a touchdown this weekend and be like, F you, Joe Namath. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, Ryan Day looked poor and looked petty.
Petty.
Urban Meyer wouldn't have done it. Urban Meyer wouldn't have even have acknowledged it. I did like the line because I'm a big fan of however you have to motivate your team. I did like the line, it's Ohio against the world, and that's the way it's always going to be. And
sure.
Say that. Don't bring Lou Holtz into it.
Right.
Just say, hey, listen, this was a big game. People didn't think we could win. It's Ohio against the world. It's always been Ohio against the world. And we're going to move on to next week.
And it's interesting to see that. Speaking of next week, you got any big picks for us? Who do you got? Who do you like?
I haven't looked yet at all the picks or what the good games are. I think that Maryland, probably I'll pick them. I'll look. They're playing Indiana right now. Everything's lining up for Maryland to go 9-3. They got to stay healthy. They got to play Penn State. They got to play Ohio State. They got to play Michigan. I don't see anything yet that proves they can beat those three. But you never know. Anybody can do anything on a Saturday. I'll look at who everybody's playing. I haven't looked at the big games yet. I'll probably, we'll maybe chat real quick. But
give a game.
Well, I'm going to give my picks. You're off to another high school thing. Carter Mooney's 4-1. Duke Bergstrom, special teams player of the game, got the belt. Led the team in tackles last week. Now they had a big win, so he got a lot of special teams and a lot of linebacker play. But Mooney's coming on strong, and I'll look at the board and I'll put some picks in because I'm doing really well. I'm like 11-4-2 or something like that. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to put a big maybe I'll put a kid's tuition down on a game this week.
I love your optimism. As far as my weekend, I got Joppatown traveling to Edgewood up there for the Ravens Rise. It'll be on the Ravens YouTube channel. And I'm calling the game this week with Quadri Ishmael, Rocket Ishmael's brother. Quadri had a great career with the Ravens, obviously was a star at Syracuse. And he loves lacrosse, but he and I are doing the high school football game, the game of the week this week up in Baltimore. So that'll be fun on the Ravens YouTube channel.
That'll be great.
You got it. He's Bergie. I'm Booker. Cheers, brother. Great work today.